because Adam and Eve fell from grace when they sinned. I have a hard time accepting that as scientific evidence. I would rather use as my scientific evidence tracing the origin of thorns and the origins of teeth back to their beginning. And the origins of teeth back to their beginning brought disaster into the world. That Adam and Eve sinned, and that brought disaster into the world.
Formulate a question.
Adam and Eve sinned, and that brought disaster into the world. Relying on the fact that Adam and Eve sinned, and that brought disaster into the world.
Formulate a question or another statement. You do have 2 minutes.
Do we have more time? Do we have more time?
You will after 5 minutes.
How many?
3 minutes. I do wonder about my earlier question. I don't feel comfortable about it being answered. That is, you keep insisting that the God of the Bible in some way is responsible for all this. You may, even if you were to prove that there's some kind of spiritual force, it is not necessarily the God of the Bible that has to be developed in there. And I see that from our group here. And I think Mark Twain said about faith that see that from our group here. And I think Mark Twain said about faith that faith is believing something you know ain't true. About faith that faith is believing something you know ain't true. I don't think you can rely on faith. I think you need to, if you want to be honest, intellectually honest, you've got to come up with something a little bit more solid than just to buy in to the fact that 80% of U.S. Americans are God believers. That 80% of U.S. Americans are God believers, and only 40% are not. So I'm God believers, and only 40%. What was the question? Phrase the question again, please. You didn't really give me the statement. I didn't hear. And you keep insisting that it is. And let me say one thing also about the story that you gave about the thing. Or maps of Upter. Stop and look at the theory that you are believing in, apparently, because there are so many thousands of unanswered questions. See, it's much easier for me to believe in the beginning God than to believe in the beginning dirt or matter. Thousands of unanswered questions in God than to believe in the beginning dirt. In the beginning God than to believe in the beginning dirt. There's different types of evolution, as I shared clearly earlier. What exploded, and where did it come from, and where did the energy come from, and where did the space come from for the matter to expand in energy come from, and where did the organization come from, and matter to expand into from? There's a whole host of questions that are harder for you to answer than in the beginning. There's a whole host of questions that are a whole lot harder for you to answer than in the beginning God. Where's information come from? This universe is not just random molecules circulating around. I mean, it carries information. Just like a book is so much more than ink on a paper, it carries information. So much more than ink on a paper, more than just chemicals, information. It's information. DNA is more than just chemical. It never answers the question. You believe hundreds of things by faith. You don't even understand that you're believing by faith. You think matter is either eternal or can create itself. What's the two choices? How did matter get here? The world is here. Where did the matter come from? Here at all. Or it had a beginning, or matter is eternal, which is both of the second two options are in violation of the obvious laws of thermodynamics. Matter doesn't create itself. Obvious laws of thermodynamics. Matter doesn't create itself. Either the thermodynamics. Matter doesn't create itself. Either it had a beginning or it didn't. If it had a beginning, then what was before the beginning? I mean, there are so many thousands of things you take by faith. I say in the beginning God, and you say thousands of things. Matter somehow either was always here or created And then this matter somehow became alive. And then this first living thing learned how to reproduce. And the first living thing learned how to reproduce. Nobody's ever seen that. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog or fox. You mentioned about, the dog fact that a wolf and a fox and a dog coming from a common ancestor. You believe they came from a rock? I mean, come on. I don't think my answer theory is that silly at all. So, I don't think